I'm Dora, sitting in my tiny apartment in Heidelberg, Germany, surrounded by papers and the cold German winter pressing against the window. I can't help but reflect on how I got here. 6 months ago, I was on a plane, leaving behind everything I'd ever known, and it all started with a graduation that no one in my family bothered to attend. 3 weeks before I boarded that one-way flight to Germany, I walked across the college graduation stage completely alone. While I received my diploma in front of thousands of strangers, my parents were at home, hosting a big basketball championship party. They had invited over 50 guests, and the seats I'd reserved for my family in the stadium were empty. After the ceremony, I sat in the parking lot and cried until I couldn't breathe. But there was a letter tucked inside my graduation gown, a letter I hadn't opened yet. That letter would change my life. Let me take you back 6 weeks to the phone call that broke my heart. I was sitting cross-legged on my dorm room bed, my heart beating a little faster than usual because I was about to ask my parents for something I'd never asked before. Mom, I just wanted to confirm the date. My graduation is on May 15th at 3 p.m. I said. There was a long silence on the line. I could hear the TV in the background, some basketball commentary. Sweetheart, you know what day that is, right? Mom finally said, her voice cautious. Of course, I know. It's the day of the basketball championship, I replied. But the graduation ceremony is only 2.5 hours long, and the stadium is just 30 minutes from home. You could make it back before the game really gets going. More silence. Then Dad's voice cut in. Dora, Jake has an important scout coming that day. This could be his big break in the basketball league. My chest tightened.
It was always about Jake.
Dad, I'm graduating with honors. I've been working towards this for 4 years, I said. Mom jumped in with her practiced sweetness. Honey, graduations happen every year. The basketball championship only comes once. I wanted to scream. I wanted to remind them that I'd worked 3 jobs to pay for my degree while they bought Jake a new sports car, hired him a personal coach, and flew him to basketball camps across the country. But I didn't. I'd learned that screaming changes nothing in this family. I understand, I whispered. Good girl. We'll celebrate later. Send us pictures, Mom said, and then the line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, and realized that not once had they asked what honors I'd received, if I was excited, or if I needed anything. To them, my graduation was just another ordinary day. 4 years ago, when I was 18, I got my college acceptance letter with a partial scholarship. I ran downstairs, waving it like a precious treasure. Mom, Dad, I got in with a scholarship. Dad barely looked up from his computer. That's nice, sweetheart. But we need to talk about money. He then told me flatly that they couldn't afford to pay for my school because Jake needed specialized training. The scholarship covers 70%, but it's still not enough, he said. Mom put her hand on my shoulder. Dora, you've always been so independent. Jake needs more support. You understand, right? I understood perfectly. From that day on, I became invisible in my own family. I applied for every scholarship I could find. I worked as a barista at 5 a.m., a teaching assistant by noon, and a tutor until late at night. I ate instant noodles most of the time to save money. My GPA climbed to 3.8, but my bank account was always close to 0. Meanwhile, Jake got a brand new Porsche for his 20th birthday. For driving to basketball practice, Mom explained. He also had a personal dietitian. Athletes need proper nutrition, Dad insisted. Jake flew first class to basketball try-outs across the country. They called it investments in his future. In 4 years of college, I went home only 5 times. Each visit was the same. I'd help Mom cook for Jake's friends, listen to stories about Jake's games, and watch Jake open gifts while I sat in the corner. No one ever asked about my research paper on environmental issues or my place on the dean's list. But there was one person who noticed me, a professor who would change my life. The night after that phone call, I dialed Grandma Rose's number. She was the one person who never made me feel invisible. Dora, my darling. Her voice wrapped around me like a warm blanket. I heard about your parents. Your mother called me, trying to justify it. I told her she was making a terrible mistake. Grandma Rose never beat around the bush. You know your mother. She thinks the world revolves around that basketball, she said. I laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. Grandma, I don't know if I can do this alone, I said. You're not alone. Her voice turned fierce. I'll be there, Dora. Even if I have to crawl, I'll be in that audience. My throat tightened. Grandma Rose lived 3 hours away, and she had bad arthritis. Her heart wasn't as strong as it used to be. And yet, she was willing to make the drive that my parents wouldn't. You don't have to, I said. Hush. This is non-negotiable, she replied. She paused. Now, tell me the truth. Is there something else going on? You sound different, like you're hiding something. I froze. How did she always know? It's nothing, Grandma. Just nervous about life after graduation.
She didn't sound convinced.
Well, whatever it is, you can tell me when you're ready. Just remember, you don't need their approval to shine, sweetheart. You never did. After we hung up, I stared at the ceiling. Grandma Rose was right. I was hiding something I wasn't ready to share with anyone yet. 1 week before graduation, I was called into Dr. Emily Davis's office.
Dr.
Davis had been my thesis advisor for 2 years. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her early 60s who never sugar-coated anything. She was the only professor who had ever pushed me to submit my research to academic journals and treated me like I had something important to say. Close the door, Dora. Sit, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her cluttered desk. I sat down, my heart pounding. I wondered if I'd done something wrong or if there was a problem with my thesis. I've been watching you for 4 years, she began. You're one of the most dedicated students I've ever taught. Your thesis on environmental sustainability is exceptional work.
Thank you, Dr.
Davis, I said, but she held up a hand. I'm not finished. 8 months ago, I submitted your name for a nomination. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to get your hopes up. My pulse quickened. A nomination for what? She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. It was a thick, official-looking envelope with a logo I didn't recognize. The results should be in here, she said, sliding it towards me. But don't open it now. Wait until after the ceremony. I want graduation day to be memorable for you, one way or another. I took the envelope with trembling fingers. It felt so light for something that could potentially change my life. What is this? I asked.
Dr.
Davis smiled, a rare expression on her usually serious face. Let's just say that your hard work may have opened doors bigger than you imagined. Congratulations in advance, Dora. Whatever happens next, you earned it. That night, I tucked the envelope into my graduation gown and waited. 5 days before graduation, I drove home to pick up some old things from my childhood room. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, I knew something was different. There was a huge banner across the garage door that said, Jake's Future Basketball Star Party, Championship Day. I sat in my car for a minute, just staring at it. Inside the house, there was a lot of activity. Mom was on the phone ordering catering, and Dad was setting up a big screen TV in the backyard. Jake was lying on the couch, scrolling through his phone like a king. Dora, Mom waved distractedly. I didn't know you were coming. Just grabbing some stuff? Yeah, just some old things, I said, keeping my voice calm. Big party. 50 guests.
Can you believe it?
The scout is bringing his whole family. This could be Jake's moment. Jake didn't even look up.
Sis.
I walked towards the kitchen. There were piles of basketball, themed decorations, basketball, shaped plates, and a huge cake with Jake's face on it. Do you need help? I heard myself ask. It was a pathetic attempt to be included. Mom waved me off.
No.
You should head back to school. Don't you have that ceremony thing soon? Ceremony thing? For years of my life reduced to those dismissive words. It's Sunday, Mom. 3 p.m. The same day as your party. Right, she said, already turning back to her phone. Oh, what day did you say again? I told her a week ago and 3 days ago on the phone. Never mind, I whispered. On my way out, I passed the entryway table. The party invitations were stacked there. I picked one up. It said, "Join us to celebrate Jake and family." My name wasn't anywhere on it. The night before graduation, I was pacing my dorm room, phone in hand, gathering the courage for one last try. I dialed home. The noise hit me immediately. Laughter, clinking glasses, and music. They were already having a pre-party for the pre-party. Hello. Mom's voice was light and happy. I could tell she'd been drinking. Mom, it's Dora. I'm graduating with top honors, and I've been chosen to give the student representative speech, I said, my voice shaking. There was a moment of silence. For a brief second, I hoped she was realizing how important this was. But then she said, "Oh, that's wonderful, sweetie. Hold on." Her voice went distant. "Tom, Jake's scout just texted. He's bringing 2 extra people." "Mom," I said, but she was back, distracted. "Sorry, honey. What were you saying?" "Something about a speech." "I was selected to speak at graduation as the student representative," I repeated. "That's nice, sweetheart." "Listen, I need to call the caterer," she said. "Mom, please. This is important to me," I pleaded. Dad's voice boomed in the background. "Who's on the phone? Tell them to call back. We're busy." "Dora, honey, I'll call you back tomorrow." "Okay. Love you," she said, and then the line went dead. I sat on the edge of my bed, looking at the graduation gown hanging on the closet door.
Dr.
Davis's envelope was tucked in the inside pocket. I hadn't opened it. It felt like the only thing in my life that still held some hope. The next morning, on graduation day, I woke up before my alarm. It should have been a momentous day, the culmination of 4 years of hard work, sleepless nights, and silent tears. But it felt empty. I showered, styled my hair carefully, and put on the dress I'd bought at a second-hand store for $15. It was a simple, black dress, the nicest thing I owned. Then I put on my graduation gown. It felt heavier than I expected, maybe because of all the weight of my disappointment. My phone buzzed. It was Jake. "Good luck today, sis," he'd sent at 1 a.m. He was probably drunk. There was nothing from Mom or Dad. Then another buzz. It was Grandma Rose. "On my way, my darling. Traffic is bad, but I will be there. I'm so proud of you." I smiled for the first time that morning. I pressed my hand against my gown, feeling the outline of the envelope. It was still sealed, still holding a secret. The Uber arrived at 8:30. I grabbed my things, took one last look at my empty dorm room, and headed out. "Big day, huh?" the driver asked cheerfully. "Family meeting you there?" I paused for a second. "They're taking a different route," I said. He didn't press further, and we drove in silence. The stadium was full of chaos and joy. Families were everywhere, mothers adjusting their children's caps, fathers taking pictures, and grandparents wiping away tears. Balloons were floating in the air, and homemade signs said things like, "Congrats, Lily," and "We're so proud of you, Ethan." I made my way through the crowd, looking for Section D, row 10. There was a small sign with my name, Dora. Seats 3 to 6. I'd reserved 4 seats, hoping against hope that my family would come. All 4 were empty. But on seat 3, there was a familiar knitted scarf, a soft, pink scarf that Grandma Rose had made for me years ago. She'd been there. She'd reserved the seats. My phone vibrated. It was Grandma Rose. "Sweetheart, there's been a terrible accident on the highway. I'm stuck in traffic that isn't moving."
I'm so sorry.
"I'm trying everything. Please don't wait for me." I typed back, "It's okay, Grandma. I love you. Don't stress." But it wasn't okay. I turned away from the empty seats and walked towards the graduate assembly area. Around me, classmates were hugging their families goodbye, promising to wave when their names were called. A girl next to me was crying happy tears as her mother pinned a flower to her gown. I stood alone, my hands clasped in front of me, watching. A man in the row behind the family section noticed me looking at my empty seats. He gave me a small, sympathetic nod. It was a small act of kindness from a stranger. The processional music began. I straightened my shoulders, touched the envelope in my pocket one more time, and took my place in line. It was time to walk alone. As the ceremony started, 3,000 graduates began to march slowly into the stadium. I was somewhere in the middle of the D surnames, walking with my peers while cameras flashed from the stands. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, welcoming families, acknowledging guests, and celebrating 4 years of hard work. I kept my eyes forward, trying not to look at the family section. But I couldn't help it. As we sat down, I glanced toward Section D. 4 empty seats. Grandma's scarf was still there, a lonely splash of pink in a sea of happy families.
My phone buzzed against my thigh.
I shouldn't have checked it, but I couldn't resist. It was an Instagram notification from Jake. The video filled my screen. Our backyard was transformed into a basketball party paradise. Streamers in team colors, a big grill with burgers sizzling, and Dad standing in the middle, holding a beer and grinning at the camera. Pre-game party is lit, Jake's voice narrated. Let's go for the championship. Best basketball party in town right here. In the background, I could see Mom laughing with a group of women. She was wearing a team jersey and holding a plate of snacks. She looked happier than I'd seen her in years. I closed Instagram. My hands were shaking. The girl next to me noticed. You okay? Fine. I forced a smile. Just nervous about my speech. Oh my God, you're the student rep. That's amazing. Where's your family sitting? I'll wave to them for you. I didn't answer. I just pointed vaguely towards Section D and hoped she wouldn't look too closely. Then the chancellor took the podium, and the ceremony officially began. Please welcome our student representative, Dora, he said. Applause rippled through the stadium. I stood up, my legs feeling like jelly. I smoothed down my gown and began the long walk to the podium. It loomed ahead, big and intimidating. There were 3,000 graduates and 10,000 audience members, and somewhere in Section D, 4 empty seats. I gripped the edges of the podium, adjusted the microphone, and looked out at the sea of faces. For a moment, I couldn't speak. The words I'd prepared seemed to disappear. Then I saw her. Grandma Rose, white, haired and out of breath, sliding into seat 3. She'd made it. She gave me a thumbs up, tears streaming down her face. I found my voice. 4 years ago, I came to this campus with 2 suitcases and $20 in my pocket. I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have a safety net. But I had determination and the belief that hard work would pay off. I said, my voice echoing through the speakers. I want to speak to every student who worked late night shifts before early morning exams, to everyone who chose textbooks over new clothes, and to every person sitting here who had no one in the audience cheering for them. My eyes found Grandma Rose. Just her, just one person. Success isn't about being loved by everyone. Success is knowing your worth when no one is watching. We don't need permission to shine. We never did. I stepped back. For a moment, there was silence. Then the stadium erupted in a standing ovation. Not from everyone, but from enough. Students were clapping, some were crying. I walked back to my seat, my legs still trembling. Grandma Rose was on her feet, clapping so hard that I worried about her heart. One person was all it took to make me feel seen. As the names were called alphabetically, each name was followed by cheers and applause from the stands. Then it was my turn. Dora, magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa, departmental honors in environmental science. I stood up and walked to the stage. The walk felt both long and short at the same time. The chancellor shook my hand and gave me my diploma. Cameras flashed. I turned to face the audience and waved. In Section D,